much. I want to take you over to Foggy Bottom right now, the State Department. Secretary of State John Kerry talking about the situation now between Cuba and the U.S.
Instead of isolating Cuba. And the truth is that we have reached out to countries where our wounds were far deeper than they are with Cuba, and actually far more recent than they are with Cuba. Beginning more than 20 years ago, I saw firsthand how 3 presidents, 1 Republican and 2 Democrats, undertook a similar effort to change the United States' relationship with Vietnam. And it wasn't easy, and it still isn't complete today, but it had to start somewhere. And make no mistake, it has worked. We made peace. We normalized relations. We even signed a trade deal with Vietnam. And anybody who has traveled there today will tell you how much that country has changed and is continuing to change. Are there things yet to achieve? Of course. But we are dealing with a country in which thousands of Americans died during the course of our lifetime. That is not the situation with Cuba. So today we have a choice. We can ignore change and resist it, or we can mold it and channel it into a new set of policies. Since 2009, when he first became president, President Obama has taken steps forward to change our relationship and to improve the lives of the people of Cuba by easing restrictions on remittances and on family travel. And with this new opening, the President has committed the United States to begin to chart an even more ambitious course forward. In January, as part of the President's directive to discuss moving toward reestablishing diplomatic relations, Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere, Roberta Jacobson, will travel to Cuba to lead the U.S. delegation to the next round of the U.S.-Cuba migration talks. And I look forward, at the right time, to being the first Secretary of State in 60 years to visit Cuba. At President Obama's request, I have also asked my team to initiate a review of Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. In the months ahead, a critical focus of our increased engagement will continue to be improving the Cuban government's respect for human rights and advocating for democratic reforms within Cuba. The change that President Obama announced today will empower the Cuban people to shape their own future. And we all share in ensuring that the people of Cuba enjoy the political, economic, and social freedoms that have spread throughout our hemisphere. Promoting freedom of speech and entrepreneurship and an active civil society will only help reintegrate Cuba into the international community. And after more than 50 years of trying to isolate Cuba, a policy that has obviously not worked and has isolated us more than them, it is time to try working with the Cuban people to build a better and different future. And building a new future is exactly what brings us here today for the U.S.-Angola Strategic Dialogue. Over the past months, I have spoken often about African leadership and this moment of promise and decision for all Africans.
Wanted to take you there to Secretary of State John Kerry, former Senator John Kerry, who is also meeting with the head of state of Rwanda over there. But the interest today, of course, primarily, it's the President of the United States in his news conference earlier today said that he has specifically charged John Kerry with the task of spearheading that normalization of relations between the U.S. and Cuba. I just wanted to hear what the Secretary had to say. Live coverage for you here on News Channel 8. 27 minutes.